So in 5 days, at midnight on Saturday, the government shuts down. Now, I know a lot of people are like, fine, who cares? I mentioned this yesterday. You have a lot of people, enlisted folks in the military and others, that aren't going to get paid. They only get paid once a month. And so if you got a car payment or food or something to do with your family that you have to make a payment on, this is a big deal. And the reason I say this is because the House is playing games. This is not a serious exercise that they're engaged with. And I'm not trying to slight anyone, but there's no strategy. The Senate sent over a pathetic stopgap measure that the Republicans caved and are on board with. And it's, like I said, but if you're going to jam them, then jam them. Send them back something, for goodness sakes. And right now they're like, oh, we're going to pass all 12 bills. No, you're not. You don't have time for that. And there's not agreement on that. I get this. I cannot believe we're here again. And for all these guys who said, oh, we said we'd stop it. Well, where were you in May and June? This didn't come out of nowhere. You all own calendars, for goodness sake. The budget is from the 1st of October to the 30th of September every year. So where were you? There is no clear path right now. None. The Speaker, McCarthy, doesn't have the votes. So he can't pass a short-term deal because they don't want that. And he can't pass these one at a time. So make no mistake, the government is shutting down on Saturday night. When you wake up Sunday, and you probably don't care, but it will be an iterative thing. People start to realize no passports, museums and shut down. Who cares about that? Most people will still get their checks because that's mandatory spending. These folks in the military and a lot of contractors said this is going to be real for them. And I'm all for reducing spending and reducing the size of government. I think it's a huge problem, how much debt and deficit we have. But I just cannot get over this. I was reading a book the other day, and there was a Sun Tzu quote, and I'm going to butcher it. But here's the quote. It basically said, tactics without strategy is noise. Tactics without strategy is just noise. And that's what we have. Let's do this. Let's pass this. Let's pass that. What do you want? What's the goal? What do we want to accomplish? I want lower spending. I want the government to be smaller and more accountable and more efficient. I want this money that we're sending overseas to be accountable. It's a joke. And no one's talking about it. It's either fund it or don't fund it. What about the money that we spent? Where's it going? We're missing in this conversation. We have people flowing over the border, and we're going to talk to Chad Wolf in a minute. Stay tuned for this. This is unbelievable. This is security. People with records, sexual assault, terrorism, criminals coming in, bringing fentanyl, and we're talking about Taylor Swift going to a football game. Now, I think that's cute too. It's a nice American love story. Yay. But what is going on that we could literally watch this happen? And everyone's sitting around like, do. Jam them, folks. The guys in the House get together and go, hey, this is the one thing that the Democrats have to agree on. We can make a mockery of the fact that they don't care about this country and who's coming in. Jam them. That's a strategy. I am apoplectic that this is what's happening. I mean, all these guys who are now going, no. Then tell me what the answer is, because right now you've got a golden goose. It's sitting right there. People are flowing over the border. Make that your issue. Jam the Senate. Make them vote down on it. You really think that people are going to do that if you do it right? For a little while, they were going down to the Senate, to the border, and they actually got some media attention. Get your act together. Speaking of getting your act together, Senator Menendez, he was out yesterday in a press conference trying to defend this deal, that he took $480,000 in cash, gold bars that had the fingerprint of an Egyptian on it that apparently he was bribing, and a Mercedes-Benz. So in his defense, and this is what, just sit back because it makes total sense now, he was just getting ready for an emergency. So I thought to myself, finally this makes sense to me. I get it now. You were getting ready for an emergency. My wife said the same thing to me last night. She's like, are we ready? Do we have a flashlight? Do we have batteries? Do we have $480,000 in cash? And I was like, battery check, flashlight check, a little short on the $480,000. And he said that the only reason people are going after him is because he's a Latino. He's a Cuban immigrant. And they were very worried about confiscation back then. So he's been taking money out and putting it in. Isn't it more concerning the United States senator has $500,000 in cash in his house in a jacket stuffed in the pockets with his name on it? I mean, it's one thing if he had it in some kind of bunker that was safe and he like could make some, with a bunch of food and he was, this is a guy who's stuffing it in a jacket. That's not exactly looking to me like you're preparing for the apocalypse there, buddy. I mean, seriously. And the thing that's so interesting is that, as I mentioned yesterday, he was indicted, 8-9 years ago and got off on a hung jury. And that time, he made it clear. This was like New Jersey style. He's like, if you're not with me, I'm going to come after you. And this is no kidding. But the walls are starting to creep in. The governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, he said he needs to resign. Another congressman from New Jersey, Andy Kim, he said he's going to primary him. But then his colleagues, Tammy Baldwin, Montana's John Tester, Pennsylvania's Bob Casey, Peter Welch from Vermont, Sherrod Brown of Ohio on the banking committee where he used to be, all said in Fetterman that he needed to resign. Drip, drip, drip. Now, of course, Chuck Schumer can't be found. The White House, they got nothing to say. They're going to let the judicial. It's amazing. They have nothing to say. It's amazing how many of these guys, I think on both sides, that the last time he had this wall, no one, broke through it because he was very clear, I'm coming after you if you come after me, if you don't stand in solidarity with me. This time, I think people with a brain are saying, I'm not defending a guy who had gold bars with the fingerprint of the guy that he was allegedly bribing. And he can't explain it. He didn't mention that at all yesterday, did he? Anyway, it'll be interesting because they all come back now. So there's no excuse. When I was at the RNC, I used to joke with people that if little Timmy at Walter Johnson High School got into a fight, they'd call the RNC and be like, his dad's a Republican. What's the RNC's comment? I'm not kidding. I would honestly, any Republican of any stature that got elected or that did something, I'd get a call. What's the RNC's comment? Chuck Schumer hasn't even commented on this. He's the Democratic Majority Leader from New York, right there next to him. On a million reasons you should be asking this guy. I mean, it's amazing what they get away with, isn't it? They literally get a guy with gold bricks and all this cash, and Chuck Schumer's like, maybe today when they're back in town, the people who like to call themselves reporters could ask one of those questions they talk about being part of journalism. In other political news, the debate stage tomorrow night, Simi Valley, California, they're going to have 7 on the stage. Ron DeSantis made it, Vivek Ramaswamy, number 2, Nikki Haley was 3rd, Pence, Christie, and Tim Scott. And North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, he all made it. Asa Hutchinson, nope. He's the guy that didn't make it. So out with Doug Burgum, and out with Asa Hutchinson. I have a hard time believing Doug Burgum is going to make the next one. But then again, the guy's got a ton of cash, and he keeps advertising. I was out in Iowa, and he was running tons of ads on there. He was running ads this weekend. I mean, he's trying to do what he can, and if you got that much money, you might as well. But I mentioned a moment ago this other debate. So Fox News announced a red versus blue state debate between Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida and California Governor Gavin Newsom. It's going to be November 30th, 9 o'clock in Georgia. And Sean Hannity's the moderator. I got to give Newsom the credit here. I mean, you're walking into the lion's den, and he agreed to it. I think this is Ron DeSantis doing anything to show that he can take him on.